My beloved brothers and sisters, there is a battle raging within each of us. A battle between the mind that reasons and the emotions that rush like wild rivers after the rain. The mind whispers, "Be still, wait, reflect." But the emotions cry, "React, strike, surrender." And if we are not careful, our emotions will chain us like prisoners to every passing storm, while our mind, our gift from God, remains silent, waiting to be heard. You see, my dear ones, emotions are holy servants, but they are terrible masters. Anger, when controlled, can spark justice. Joy, when nurtured, can breathe hope. But left unchecked, anger burns everything in its path, and joy becomes a fleeting intoxication that cannot sustain a weary soul. To train your mind to be stronger than your emotions is to stand in the mirror of your life and say, "I will not be tossed like a leaf in the wind. I will be a tree with roots deep in the soil of wisdom." How do we train the mind then? My beloved ones, there is a sacred discipline that many of us overlook in the rush of our daily lives. It is not loud, it is not complicated, it does not demand a mountain of money or the applause of the world. It is quiet, simple, and yet it holds the very key to peace. It is the art of pausing before you react. That pause, that breath, that single heartbeat of stillness, it can save your future, it can protect your relationships, it can guard your soul from unnecessary wounds. You see, when something happens to us, our emotions rise like a storm. Anger flashes like lightning. Fear roars like thunder. Sadness drips steady as rain on the roof of your soul. And before we know it, we are swept away by the flood. Words leap from our lips, harsh and unmeasured. Hands move in ways we later regret. Decisions are made in the heat of emotion. And when the fire dies down, the ashes remain. But the pause, oh, the blessed pause, is the umbrella in the storm. It is the hand of God stretched forth, saying, "Wait, my child, do not be moved by the wave. Let the waters settle, and then see clearly." The pause is a form of power. It is not weakness. The world may tell you, strike back quickly, show them who you are. Do not let anyone disrespect you, but wisdom whispers differently. Wisdom says control is not in the shout, it is in the silence. Power is not in the rush, it is in the restraint. Even the scriptures remind us that he who is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he who rules his spirit than he who takes a city. To pause before you react is to rule your own spirit. And that, my loves, is a greater conquest than any victory the world can hand you. Think of the times in your own life when a pause could have changed everything. Maybe you sent the message too quickly, and words written in a blaze of emotion built a wall that years could not tear down. Maybe you spoke in anger, and though you apologized, the sting of those words still lives in the heart of the one who heard them. Maybe you made a decision, guided by fear instead of faith, and later realized that waiting just one more day would have opened a better door. Yes, beloved, we all have scars from the moments when we failed to pause. But those scars do not come to condemn us. They come to remind us that there is a better way. The pause allows us to hear the whisper of God. For the Lord does not shout over chaos. His voice is soft, still, gentle. And if we are rushing, reacting, running with our emotions, we cannot hear him. The pause is where clarity lives. The pause is where prayer enters. The pause is where the spirit can breathe. Imagine a man standing by the sea. The waves are high, the wind is strong, and the water is murky. He sees nothing but confusion. But if he waits, if he pauses, if he allows the wind to calm and the waves to settle, suddenly he sees the reflection of the sky in the water. The clarity was always there, but he could not see it until he paused. There is strength in that kind of patience. Do not let anyone tell you that pausing is cowardice. It takes far more strength to hold your tongue than to lash out. It takes far more discipline to breathe deeply and wait than to swing your fist or slam the door. The pause is the mark of a mature soul. Babies cry the moment they feel discomfort. Animals lash out the moment they feel threatened. But a soul that has grown in wisdom knows the art of waiting, the discipline of listening, the mastery of self. Let me tell you this, my dear ones. Life will test you. People will push you. The world will provoke you. Someone will misunderstand you, and emotions will boil like water on the stove. In that moment you have a choice. You can let the boiling water spill over and burn everything it touches. Or you can turn down the flame, let it simmer, and wait. That choice is in your hands. And the pause, though it may last only a few seconds, can change the course of your life. I recall the story of a woman who was betrayed by her closest friend. Her first desire was to confront her, to shout, to cut her off forever. But something inside told her to wait. She paused. She prayed. She let her tears fall quietly in her room instead of in her friend's face. And in that pause, God spoke to her heart. He reminded her that betrayal is not stronger than forgiveness. He reminded her that anger does not heal, but wisdom does. Because she paused, she approached her friend with calmness instead of fire. And what could have ended in destruction ended in restoration. That is the miracle of a pause. The pause is also a teacher. It teaches you about yourself. It reveals the places where you are easily triggered. It shows you the wounds that are still tender. When you pause and ask yourself, why am I so quick to anger? Why does this make me afraid? Why does this word cut me so deeply? You begin to understand the hidden chambers of your own soul. And understanding, my beloved, is the first step toward healing. Without the pause, you remain a prisoner of impulse. With the pause, you become a student of wisdom. So I urge you, do not despise the pause. Cherish it. Practice it. When your child frustrates you, pause before you discipline. When your spouse offends you, pause before you respond. When a stranger disrespects you, pause before you strike. When life disappoints you, pause before you give up. That pause is where your mind steps forward and your emotions step back. That pause is where strength is born. And remember this, the pause is not the end. It is not silence forever. It is preparation. The pause gives your mind time to lead your emotions, instead of being dragged by them. The pause helps you respond with wisdom, instead of reacting with impulse. The pause allows you to choose words that heal, instead of words that wound. My dear ones, life will not always give you the luxury of long reflection. Sometimes you must decide quickly. But even in those moments, train your spirit to take one breath, one pause, one heartbeat of stillness. That single pause can be the difference between regret and peace, between destruction and growth, between a broken bridge and a stronger bond. So let us practice this holy art. Let us teach our children the discipline of waiting before reacting. Let us model in our homes the beauty of pausing before speaking. Let us remind ourselves daily that power is not in the rush but in the restraint. For when you pause before you react, you are not only training your mind to be stronger than your emotions, you are also giving room for the voice of God to guide you, and His voice, my loves, will never lead you astray. My beloved ones, the mind is a garden. Whatever seeds you place in it will grow, and whatever you neglect will wither. If you plant weeds of lies, fear, and doubt, then weeds will choke your peace. But if you plant seeds of truth, wisdom, and faith, then your mind will blossom like a spring meadow after the rain. The danger for many of us is that we feed our emotions daily, but we starve our minds. We give attention to every passing feeling, but we give no nourishment to the thoughts that must sustain us. That, dear ones, is why so many are tossed back and forth like driftwood upon the waves of life. The emotions are full, but the mind is weak. To train your mind to be stronger than your emotions, you must feed it with truth every single day. Think of the body for a moment. If you fill your body with only sweets, fried food, and empty calories, your body will grow heavy and sick. It will not have the strength to run, to climb, to endure. But if you feed it vegetables, water, bread, and the good gifts of the earth, your body will rise with energy and health. The mind is no different. What you feed it will determine how it stands in the face of storms. If you feed your mind gossip, complaints, violence, and lies, then when life strikes, your mind will collapse. But if you feed it scripture, poetry, wisdom, and truth, then when the storms of life come, and they will come, you will not fall. I tell you this because many of us have allowed our minds to be filled with junk. The television speaks fear. The internet feeds anger. The world shouts lies. And we consume them daily without thought, without resistance. Then when our emotions rise, we wonder why we cannot control them. We wonder why sadness lingers, why anger burns, why fear cripples. It is because the mind has no nourishment. It is starving, my loves, and a starving mind cannot lead a well-fed emotion. So I say, feed your mind with truth. What is truth? Truth is that which does not change with the wind. Truth is the word of God that endures forever. Truth is the wisdom of the ages, the lessons written in history, the voices of the saints and poets who remind us of who we are. Truth is the light that does not flicker when the storm comes. Feed your mind with this, and it will stand tall when emotions cry out. When you rise in the morning before the world floods your spirit with noise, read something that nourishes you. A verse, a prayer, a poem. Sit quietly and let it seep into your soul like sunlight seeping through a window. Let your mind drink of truth before your emotions drink of fear. Do not wait until the day has broken you to search for wisdom. Prepare your mind at the dawn, and you will walk through the day unshaken. When you walk through your hours, guard what enters your mind. Just as you would not eat spoiled food, do not consume spoiled thoughts. If the conversation is filled with bitterness, step back. If the media is dripping with fear, turn it off. If the voices around you speak lies, do not let them find root in your soul. Feeding your mind with truth requires discipline. It requires you to be selective, to choose carefully what you consume. For your mind, like your body, cannot thrive on poison. Do you remember the story of Daniel in the lion's den? Before the lions ever threatened him, he had already trained his mind. He prayed 3 times a day. He filled his soul with truth. So when the trial came, when fear could have drowned him, his mind was stronger than his emotions. His mind said, "I know my God is with me," while his emotions trembled in the shadows of the lions. The truth he fed his mind became his shield. And so it will be with you. Let me tell you, my dear ones, the truth you feed your mind will become the voice you hear in crisis. When grief visits, if you have fed your mind with truth, you will hear. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. When anger rises, you will hear, "Be slow to speak, quick to listen, slow to wrath." When fear presses against your chest, you will hear, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear?" This is why you must feed your mind with truth. Without it, the only voice you will hear is the trembling cry of your emotions. And let me remind you, feeding the mind is not a single meal. It is a daily practice. Just as you cannot eat once and expect to be full for life, you cannot read wisdom once and expect to be strong forever. You must return to it again and again until it becomes the very air you breathe. You must make it a habit, a ritual, a sacred rhythm. For truth, when consumed daily, reshapes the mind. It builds new paths of thought, new wells of strength, new rivers of peace. Some will say, "But I do not have time." Oh, beloved, you have time. You have time for the things you value. If you have time to scroll, you have time to read. If you have time to worry, you have time to pray. If you have time to fear, you have time to feed your mind with truth. What you prioritize will determine your strength. Choose wisely, for your future depends on it. And know this: truth is not always sweet. Sometimes it convicts. Sometimes it challenges. Sometimes it asks you to rise higher than you want to climb. But that is nourishment too. Do not reject truth because it tastes bitter. Medicine often does. But it heals, it restores, it strengthens. And your mind, my dear ones, needs that healing more than it needs the comfort of a temporary sweetness. If you desire peace, feed your mind with truth. If you desire courage, feed your mind with truth. If you desire wisdom, feed your mind with truth. For your emotions will always shift. They are like the waves of the sea. But truth is the anchor that holds steady. Train your mind with that anchor, and no storm can carry you away. So I plead with you, do not starve your mind. Do not let the noise of the world drown out the eternal song of truth. Rise each day and feed your mind. Protect it as you would protect a child. Guard it as you would guard your home. For your mind, when strong, will be the leader your emotions need. And when your emotions cry, when they rage, when they tempt you to lose control, your mind, nourished by truth, will whisper, peace, be still. My beloved ones, life is not made of what happens to us, but of how we choose to see what happens to us. Two people may walk through the same valley, but one sees only darkness while the other sees stars hidden in the night. Two souls may face the same mountain, but one sees it as a burden too heavy to climb, while the other sees it as a chance to grow strong. The difference is not in the valley nor in the mountain. The difference is in perspective. And oh my dear ones, if you are to train your mind to be stronger than your emotions, you must learn to choose perspective over impulse. Impulse is quick, sharp, and blinding. It is the child of unchecked emotion. It rises like fire and shouts, react now, strike now, fear now, despair now. It does not pause, it does not consider, it does not seek wisdom. Impulse is the loud voice that demands action before understanding. And how many of us have obeyed that voice only to regret it later? How many friendships have been broken because impulse spoke faster than patience? How many opportunities lost because impulse chose fear over faith? How many nights filled with tears because impulse pushed us to decisions not guided by truth? Perspective, on the other hand, is the calm voice of wisdom. It does not silence emotion, but it puts emotion in its proper place. Perspective says, yes, this hurts, but what is this pain teaching me? Perspective says, yes, I am afraid, but have I not walked through fear before and lived? Perspective says, yes, the storm is strong, but storms pass, and when they pass, the sky shines brighter than before. Perspective is not denial, it is deeper vision. It sees beyond the moment into the meaning. It sees beyond the wound into the wisdom. It sees beyond the trial into the triumph. Let me give you a picture. A child spills milk on the floor. An impulsive mind shouts, look what you've done. You ruined everything. But perspective says the milk is spilled, yes, but it can be cleaned. The child is learning. This is not the end, only a moment. One response wounds, the other teaches. One creates fear, the other creates growth. This, beloved, is the difference between living by impulse and living by perspective. Think of Joseph. Betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, thrown into prison. If he had lived by impulse, he would have drowned in bitterness. He would have cursed God, hated his brothers, and closed his heart. But Joseph chose perspective. He said, you meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. That is the power of perspective. It takes the stones thrown at you and builds a foundation for your future. Impulse only feels the sting of the stone. Perspective sees the wall, the shelter, the house that can be built with it. My dear ones, when anger rises, impulse demands revenge. But perspective whispers, will this revenge heal me, or will it wound me more? When sadness falls heavy, impulse says, give up, it will never change. But perspective whispers, the night may be long, but the dawn always comes. When fear grips your chest, impulse shouts, run away, you cannot do this. But perspective reminds you, have courage, for you have faced giants before and you are still standing. Impulse is temporary. It belongs to the moment. But perspective is eternal. It belongs to wisdom. To live by impulse is to be a leaf blown by the wind, tossed in every direction. But to live by perspective is to be the tree rooted deep, unmoved by passing storms. The wind blows, yes, but the tree stands. The rain falls, yes, but the roots hold firm. The storm rages, but the tree survives. Why? Because it is grounded in something deeper than the weather. So must your mind be grounded in something deeper than your emotions. How then do we choose perspective? We practice. Each day, when impulse shouts, we pause and ask, what is the larger truth here? What lesson is hidden in this pain? What blessing may yet come from this burden? And as you ask, your vision shifts. Your heart, though heavy, learns to see hope. Your mind, though challenged, learns to see opportunity. Your soul, though tested, learns to see God's hand even in the shadows. Perspective does not deny reality, it redefines it. Yes, the doctor's report may frighten you, but perspective says, this is not the end, this is a chapter. My God still heals, my spirit still fights, my life still holds purpose. Yes, the betrayal may cut you, but perspective says, this wound will not define me, I will rise stronger, wiser, more compassionate than before. Yes, the loss may break your heart, but perspective says, though I grieve, I will cherish the love that was given, and I will carry their light in me always. Do you see, beloved, how perspective gives you power where impulse steals it? Do you see how perspective transforms pain into wisdom, fear into courage, endings into beginning? When you live by impulse, you are chained to the present moment. But when you live by perspective, you are lifted into eternity. Now let me tell you the truth, you will not always feel like choosing perspective. Your emotions will fight you. They will demand their way. But remember this, perspective is not a feeling, it is a choice. You do not wait to feel calm before you choose wisdom. You do not wait to feel happy before you choose hope. You choose first and the feelings will follow. Just as the sailor sets his compass before the wind shifts, so must you set your mind before your emotions sway. The greatest leaders, the strongest souls, the most peaceful hearts are not those who never felt impulse. They are those who felt it but chose perspective instead. They looked beyond the moment, beyond the wound, beyond the noise, and they chose to see with the eyes of wisdom. And so must you. So I say to you today, when impulse knocks, do not open the door. When perspective calls, answer. When impulse says react now, let perspective say wait. Consider, see clearly. When impulse says you cannot take this anymore, let perspective say, this too shall pass. And when impulse says, this is the end, let perspective declare, no, this is the beginning of something new. For if you train your mind to choose perspective over impulse, you will not be tossed by every emotion. You will stand firm in storms, walk steady in valleys, climb faithfully on mountains. And you will discover that no matter what comes, you are not a slave to impulse. You are a child of wisdom, a keeper of peace, and a vessel of God's strength. My beloved ones, emotions are a gift from God, tender threads woven into the fabric of our humanity. They remind us that we are alive, that we can feel, that our hearts are not stone but flesh. Joy lifts us high. Sorrow deepens our compassion. Fear warns us of danger, and anger can stir us to stand against injustice. Emotions are not enemies, they are servants, meant to inform us, to guide us, to flavor our days with color and depth. But oh dear hearts, when emotions are allowed to become masters, they turn from gentle servants into cruel rulers. They sit on the throne of our souls, cracking whips that drive us into regret, chaos, and destruction. To live by your emotions is to be a ship without a rudder. One moment joy sails you forward. The next anger tosses you into violent seas. Then fear drags you back, and sadness sinks you beneath the waves. You rise, you fall, you drift endlessly, never steady, never sure. But when the mind guided by wisdom sits at the helm, then emotions take their rightful place as crew, not captain. They work with you, not against you. They serve the voyage, but they do not command the ship. Let us consider anger. Anger. When a servant can alert us that something is wrong, it can stir us to fight injustice, to speak truth, to protect the weak. But anger, when a master blinds us, it makes us lash out at those we love. It destroys bridges that took years to build. It burns the house down while we are still inside. Anger as a servant is righteous fire. Anger as a master is a wildfire that leaves nothing but ashes. Or take fear. Fear as a servant warns us of danger. It keeps us from walking into the lion's den unprepared. It helps us respect the edge of the cliff. But fear as a master chains us. It locks us in cages of hesitation. It whispers that we are not enough, that the world is too great, that our dreams are too high. Fear as a servant keeps us safe. Fear as a master keeps us small. Joy too can teach us. As a servant, joy reminds us to celebrate life, to dance in the sun, to give thanks for every blessing. But joy as a master can make us chase only pleasure. It can blind us to reality, distract us from purpose, and lead us into indulgence. Joy as a servant is a song. Joy as a master is a drug. Even sorrow has a place. As a servant, sorrow softens us. It makes us tender to others' pain. It draws us nearer to God in prayer. But sorrow as a master drags us into despair. It convinces us that tomorrow holds no light, that hope has fled, that love has died. Sorrow as a servant refines us. Sorrow as a master imprisons us. You see, beloved, the danger is not in feeling. Feeling is holy. The danger is in surrendering to feelings without the guidance of a trained mind. Emotions rise quickly, but they do not see far. They are like children, immediate and intense, demanding what they want in the moment, without thought of the future. The mind is the parent, meant to guide, to teach, to place boundaries. Without the parent's wisdom, the child runs wild. Without the mind's discipline, emotions run riot. We must learn then to honor emotions as messengers, not rulers. When anger comes, do not suppress it, but ask, "What are you trying to show me?" When fear knocks, do not deny it, but ask, "What is the danger and how can I prepare?" When joy sings, do not silence it, but ask, "How can I savor this without losing balance?" When sorrow weeps, do not ignore it, but ask, "What wisdom lies in this pain?" In this way, emotions become advisors in the court of your soul, but never the king upon the throne. And who, my loves, must sit upon that throne? The mind, trained by truth, guided by faith, anchored in the Spirit. A mind that remembers God's promises, that recalls past victories, that listens for divine whispers. That mind must be the ruler, for a mind so trained will listen to emotions, but not be ruled by them. It will use their energy, but not be enslaved by their chains. Think of Christ himself in the Garden of Gethsemane. His emotions were real. He felt sorrow, anguish, even the shadow of fear. His sweat fell like drops of blood. Yet he did not let those emotions rule him. He said, "Not my will, but thine be done." His mind, rooted in the Father's truth, guided his emotions into obedience. That is the model, beloved. That is strength. Not the absence of emotion, but the mastery of it. Do not think this mastery comes in a day. It is practice, discipline, training. Each time you feel an emotion rise, you have a chance to practice. Will you bow before it, or will you listen, learn, and then let your mind lead? Will you let anger drive your words, or will you pause and let wisdom speak? Will you let fear close the door, or will you step forward with courage, trembling but moving still? This is training daily and deliberate. And remember this, my beloved, emotions are powerful. They can build or they can break. They can heal or they can wound. But their power is best used when guided. A river without banks floods and destroys. A river with banks nourishes the land and gives life. Your emotions are that river. Let your mind and spirit be the banks. Guide the flow and it will bring beauty. Leave it unchecked and it will bring ruin. So I tell you, cherish your emotions. Do not despise them. Do not shame yourself for feeling deeply. That depth is a divine gift. But do not worship your emotions either. Do not let them rule the palace of your soul. Place them where they belong. Faithful servants, not tyrants. Let them help you, not harm you. Let them guide you, not govern you. And when you learn this balance, you will walk in strength. You will feel anger but not be consumed. You will feel fear but still have courage. You will feel sorrow but still see hope. You will feel joy but not lose your wisdom. You will be whole. You will be free. You will be master of your emotions, not mastered by them. For the true strength of a soul is not in the absence of feeling, but in the wisdom to govern those feelings with grace, with patience, and with faith. And when your emotions bow to your mind and your mind bows to God, you, my beloved, will rise as a king, as a queen, no longer tossed by the storms within, but standing tall as a child of the Almighty, rooted, steady, and free. My beloved, let us talk now about the art of patience, the practice of delayed reaction, the beauty of pausing before we respond. For life, with all its unpredictability, will often come knocking at our doors with storms disguised as questions, insults, trials, and sudden surprises. And in those moments when emotions leap up like wildfire, the mind that has not been trained to pause will surrender to rage, to bitterness, to impulsive words that cannot be recalled. But the mind that has learned to breathe, to wait, to measure its steps, becomes stronger than any passing emotion. I have known people who thought power was in the speed of their tongue, who believed strength was found in always having the last word. Yet those same people discovered painfully that hasty words leave scars and rash decisions leave regrets. A strong mind does not rush to satisfy the moment. No, a strong mind knows that time is its friend and wisdom is born in stillness. Like a river that looks calm on the surface but carries deep strength below, so must we become quiet when necessary, thoughtful before responding, deliberate before acting. Think of patience as the anchor that steadies the boat of your soul in rough waters. Emotions will toss you about, tempt you to move quickly, to strike, to prove a point. But patience whispers, wait, the storm will pass and you will see more clearly. My grandmother used to say, when your tongue wants to race, let your heart remind it to walk. And I have learned over and over again that those who master the pause often master themselves. Have you ever seen how a farmer plants a seed? He does not dig up the earth the next morning to see if it has sprouted. No, he waits, he waters, he trusts the soil to do its work. That patience is what we must also practice in our emotional lives. When someone wrongs you, when life disappoints you, do not let anger drive you to foolish actions. Instead, let patience cover you like a blanket. Pause, think, and allow wisdom to arrive before you open your mouth. A delayed response is not weakness. It is the proof of strength. Children, when they are small, cry for what they want immediately. They scream when they do not receive it. They are ruled by emotion because they do not yet know the art of patience. But maturity, true maturity, teaches us that everything does not demand a quick reaction. In fact, the strongest people are often those who smile when provoked, who hold their peace when insulted, who trust that life or God or time itself will bring justice. That strength comes from waiting, from breathing, from being slow to anger and rich in understanding. Now, I will not pretend that patience is easy. It is not. The human spirit is often restless, and emotions rise like waves that insist they must crash. But we must remember the wave that crashes too soon scatters, while the wave that builds its power strikes with greater force. Your emotions may demand you to speak now, to move now, to act now, but your mind must rise above and say, not yet. Let me see the whole picture. That is training, that is discipline. You see, delayed reaction gives you space to choose. It allows you to step out of the fog of feeling and into the clarity of wisdom. How many friendships would still be intact if words had been delayed? How many marriages would still be whole if patience had been chosen over pride? How many lives would be richer if anger had been paused and love had been allowed to speak instead? When you wait, you give yourself the gift of clarity. When you wait, you prove to your emotions that they are not the master you are. There is a sacred beauty in silence, a holy strength in waiting. A strong mind knows that silence is not emptiness, but fullness. It is the place where thoughts gather, where wisdom is born, where emotions lose their fire, and truth gains its voice. If you can hold your peace in the heat of a moment, you are stronger than the one who lashes out. If you can sit with discomfort without rushing to fix it, you are richer than the one who lets impatience rob them of growth. Consider the mighty oak tree. It does not become tall overnight. Its strength comes from years of standing still, enduring storms, bending but not breaking, waiting for its roots to deepen. So it must be with us. Our strength grows not in rushing, but in waiting. Our power shows not in instant reaction, but in thoughtful response. And our wisdom shines not in how quickly we speak, but in how carefully we choose our words. So I ask you now, will you be ruled by fleeting emotions, or will you rise with patience and become master of yourself? The choice is yours, and it will not be made once but every day, in every situation. Every time anger rises, you must pause. Every time fear whispers, you must wait. Every time impatience tempts, you must breathe. And with each pause, with each breath, with each choice to wait, your mind grows stronger, your spirit steadier, your wisdom deeper. A strong mind is not a mind that never feels. It is a mind that feels deeply but does not allow feelings to dictate its direction. It is a mind that holds the emotion in one hand and patience in the other, choosing carefully, moving wisely,